There are several things I need to point out about this setup before we continue with the attachments, performance ratings, and recommendations. Just like my ST-AR-15 video, you need a blueprint to make the gun look accurate to the one in Girls Frontline. If you were to copy the attachments in this video with the default AK-47, you'd actually end up with Kalina's setup from Continuum Turbulence. That's actually pretty cool, but it isn't what we're looking for. In order to replicate AK-74U's setup, you'll need the Black Cat AK-47 skin. This is where we hit a wall for newer players. This skin is only available for those who bought and leveled up the Season 5 Battle Pass. This means you can't get it anymore, which also means you can't replicate the way it looks. Right, now onto the setup itself. Essentially, we're transforming the AK-47 into a close quarters weapon similar to the RO635 I did last episode. This is where the similarities end though, as they play very differently. You can watch the gameplay and see me get my ass handed to me constantly because I don't think this is a very easy setup to use. Not to say the weapon is at fault, but it's not something like the Grau or MP5. The reason for this is our first attachment, the 8.1-inch compact barrel. In modern warfare, the higher the mobility, the lower the ballistics and control. Ballistics being bullet velocity and damage range, control being recoil stabilization and control. This rule applies to all short barrels in the game, but applies really strongly to this barrel. To put it bluntly, I don't recommend this barrel. If I do, I usually use 2 recoil attachments with it. Normally the AK-47 suffers from high recoil, a decent bit of it coming from low recoil stabilization. I would use a compensator or non-angled foregrip to increase recoil control. This makes recoil more manageable and lets me push it closer to its full potential. But this isn't the case here. See, the issue with this barrel isn't bullet velocity, it isn't damage range, it's the recoil. The decrease to recoil control is noticeable but not terrible. The decrease to recoil stabilization, on the other hand, is debilitating. I have to put on an angled foregrip to get it back in line, otherwise I have the accuracy of a blind grandma looking for her dentures. Now that we have thoroughly discussed why I hate this barrel, it's time for some positive news. The 5.45 ammunition changes the way the gun works in an interesting way. It increases the fire rate but decreases the long range damage. It also increases recoil control, which really helps out with the abomination of a barrel I'm forced to use. The 3-shot kill range is shorter than the 7.62x39 cartridge, but since it fires faster, that means it has a faster time to kill in those distances. At longer range, it takes 1 extra shot to kill. There's not really a debate whether or not 5.45 is better than 7.62x39, mostly because they play differently. Just like the 9mm conversion on the M4A1 makes it play like an SMG, the 5.45 ammunition makes the AK less of a slow shooting powerhouse and more of a traditional assault rifle with a specialization in close range. Since it specs the AK out for closer range, there is synergy with the 8.1-inch barrel. Not just because it speeds the gun up for close quarters combat, but because it comes with the overlooked benefit of increasing recoil control. I mentioned the barrel makes a recoil about as stable as Middle Eastern politics, but it also had a tangible effect on reducing recoil control. Instead of using an attachment slot for a non-angled foregrip or compensator, the 5.45 ammunition does the job for me. Next up, we have the skeleton stock, which is a really good attachment for the AK-47. Since it is slower than the other assault rifles, boosting the aim down sight speed is ideal, and the skeleton stock does this with the added bonus of making you strafe faster when aiming down sights. For the close quarter style of play this setup is aiming for, this is pretty much a must-have attachment. Normally, this stock would bring the aim down sight time up to par with the majority of the assault rifles, but because we already have the compact barrel equipped, it actually makes it faster than most, if not all the other assault rifles. Since it increases strafe speed, you're more likely to win gunfights with it as you can stay more mobile during a shootout. It hits 2 birds with 1 stone, freeing up an attachment slot for something else that can benefit the gun outside of speed. That attachment slot is being used for the rubberized grip tape. We have 2 dedicated attachments for speeding up the AK-47 already. The only things that haven't been sped up is the sprint out time, and you'd think I'd use the rear grip slot for that. I don't think it's the most effective choice though, seeing as the gun is already plenty fast. The main downside of this gun always comes down to the recoil, being the one thing holding it back. Now I mentioned earlier that I would have put on a muzzle brake or an angled foregrip to rein it in, but I can't do that here. AK-74U's art makes it very clear that she has no muzzle attachment or foregrip of any kind, so the best I could do is rubberized grip tape. It's really not much, being a single digit increase to recoil control, but anything helps when the gun is actively trying to bash itself against your head. And the final attachment is the frangible wounding ammunition. Typically, I use sleight of hand to increase reload time, and considering this setup is made for high intensity and constant action, you'd think I'd use it. See, there's actually 2 good reasons I don't use it. One, it's because normal reload is actually really fast. 2. The recoil again. Since it is so high, I actually have issues finishing off an enemy before they run away, and unless they're close to me, I can't find them before they heal up and get the drop on me. The frangible wounding ammunition causes enemy healing to take twice as long, unless they have a stim shot. That means if I fail to kill them the first time, they'll still be injured by the time I find them again. This leads to a higher number of kills theoretically, but since I don't have kill statistics, I can't prove it. Overall, this is a good setup, not great within the confines of sticking to AK-74U setup though. It does its job of being close quarters rifle well, with the added benefit of pursuing enemies who are hurt. The 545 ammunition means kills will be quick if you can land all your shots, with the barrel in stock making you highly mobile in several ways. If you want my full opinion, please slap on an angled foregrip and save yourself the trouble of having to deal with an earthquake every time you shoot the damn thing. If that's still too much for you, swap out the rubberized grip tag for a compensator. You shouldn't have any issues after that. There's something else you can do if you're feeling pretty creative about the AK-47. So I did mention that the 3-shot kill range for the 545 ammunition is smaller than the 7.62 3-shot kill range, but this can be boosted using attachments as far as I know. So you could equip an RPK barrel or the Romanian barrel with the built-in foregrip. You could slap on a monolithic suppressor to try to increase the 3-shot kill range as far as you can with the gun. And because of that, this thing might actually be a really good medium range assault rifle if you just keep stacking on range attachments. The main issue with this is that the gun gets really slow, but you can always slap on stippled grip tape, attack laser, the skeleton stock, or an aimed on sight stock if you really need to speed it up. There are some things to consider when using like the 545 ammunition in general. It doesn't make the gun really an SMG, but it just changes the way you have to play with it. Playing with it closer range for the most part.